Welcome to an epic journey through the mists of time. Today we expose the dark truth of a mighty empire. For a millennium, the Holy Roman Empire stood as a beacon of divine, absolute iron might. What if this glorious facade was a colossal lie, hiding a truly chaotic and decaying nightmare? In truth, it was not holy, Roman, or an empire. It was a crumbling mess of endless warring factions. Let us tear down the curtains to witness how a French conqueror crushed a grand 1,000-year illusion. In the year 800, Charlemagne knelt before the Pope, receiving a crown forging an eternal realm. According to historical records, this grand event birthed a myth of a unified Christian state. For centuries, the emperors claimed a divine mandate, projecting supreme power sanctioned by their god. The mighty Habsburg dynasty eventually seized the throne, commanding vast, sprawling European lands. Their majestic palaces in Vienna echoed with absolute authority and auras of strength. From dense German forests to the mighty Alps, the imperial eagle watched over a loyal realm. Popes and emperors supposedly stood together, holding spiritual and secular power firm. Grand cathedrals reached towards the heavens, their stained glass reflecting the immense glory of the estate. Knights in shining armor rode across the continent, ready to crush rebellion and defend the crown. Treaties were officially signed with heavy wax seals, projecting a deep stability and awe. To the outside world, attacking this monolithic giant seemed like absolute madness and dark doom. Many scholars of the time wrote epic poems praising the emperor as protector of the world. Yet, this spectacular vision of iron unity was nothing more than a crafted theatrical act. Behind the heavy velvet curtains and golden thrones, the reality was drastically different. The foundation of this ancient structure was secretly rotting, plagued by a deadly cancer of doom. The Holy Crown was not a symbol of control, but a hollow prize fought over by ambitious men. Powerful German princes openly mocked the emperor, treating his royal decrees as mere jokes. Instead of a unified army, the realm relied on fractured mercenary bands fighting for base coin. While the Habsburgs projected wealth, their imperial treasury was empty, drained by internal wars. The divine alliance between the Pope and the Emperor frequently collapsed into bitter strife. Historical documents reveal a paralyzed government, unable to pass laws without long fights. Was this truly a sacred empire ordained by God, or just a dysfunctional compromise doomed to fail? As the centuries dragged on, the cracks in the foundation grew too large to hide, setting the brutal stage. The glorious medieval dream was slowly dying, suffocated by its heavy bureaucracy. It became an empire in name only, desperately clinging to relevance in a modern world. The dawn of the Enlightenment finally brought a harsh, unforgiving light to this bizarre nightmare. Brilliant philosophers questioned the old dogmas, tearing apart the illusions of divine ancient right. The great thinker Voltaire observed this chaotic mess and delivered a legendary, devastating blow. He famously mocked that this bizarre entity was neither holy, nor Roman, nor an empire now. This sharp observation was entirely accurate. Its Roman roots and holiness were completely gone. The realm was a bewildering patchwork of over 300 independent states and free cities. A traveler moving across Germany had to pay ridiculous tolls and change currency often. Each petty prince acted like an absolute monarch, demanding total obedience in his court. The so-called emperor was essentially a hostage, forced to bribe the electors for his title. Any attempt to centralize power met fierce, armed resistance from princes protecting local rights. The imperial diet became a useless space where diplomats argued over seating for many years. While France and Britain built strong, unified modern states, the Holy Roman Empire remained stuck. Its borders were practically indefensible, allowing foreign armies to simply march right in. The Habsburg Emperors looked exhausted, weighed down by a spectacular crown offering no real strength. Many German states formed secret alliances with foreign foes, betraying the throne for selfish gain. The judicial system was incredibly corrupt and terribly slow, with lawsuits taking generations. Economic growth was brutally suffocated by thousands of borders, preventing national trade. The military was a tragic joke, composed of poorly trained contingents supplied by rulers. They spoke different languages, used different weapons, and frequently refused to follow combat rules. How could a nation survive when its defenders were more loyal to local lords than to the Grand Throne? This structural weakness made the empire a perfect playground for ambitious kings expanding estates. The illusion of divine protection shattered when religious differences violently tore the realm. The Protestant Reformation ignited a spark, dividing the frail empire into hostile camps. Princes used the new religion to seize church lands and openly rebel against the Catholic throne. The ensuing conflict plunged the German lands into an unprecedented nightmare of darkest grief. This was not a noble war for faith. It was a brutal scramble for power and land among the greedy. The Habsburgs desperately tried to crush the uprising, but their hollow authority was no match. Foreign powers eagerly jumped into the chaos, turning the Grand Empire into a tragic ruin. The once glorious realm became a tragic victim of its own fatal design, unable to stand. The magnificent cathedrals now echoed with screams, as the mythical iron strength proved a dark lie. The 30 Years' War was the ultimate, devastating proof of the empire's internal failure. Vicious mercenary armies roamed the countryside like wolves, burning villages and vanquishing all. These ruthless fighters cared nothing for the Holy Crown. They fought to plunder, leaving a trail of ash. Entire regions were completely depopulated, with famine wiping out millions of innocent lives. The emperor was utterly powerless, watching helplessly as his supposed realm burned to the ground. Princes actively invited foreign armies in, gleefully tearing their homeland apart for base greed. According to records, a third of the German population perished in this brutal religious clash. The Treaty of Westphalia ended the dark times, but it signed the final doom for imperial might. The treaty granted all states absolute sovereignty, making the emperor completely useless. The Holy Roman Empire was now officially a political corpse, refusing its demise. The Habsburgs practically abandoned Germany, focusing on building their own dynastic domains. Meanwhile, powerful new states like Prussia began to rise, aggressively challenging the decay. Prussian kings built a highly disciplined military machine, making the old army look weak. Wars between Austria and Prussia repeatedly tore the frail empire apart, proving no unity. The princes openly laughed at the imperial courts, treating ancient laws as jokes while ruling alone. The spectacular illusion of Charlemagne's legacy had evaporated, leaving a wasteland. The common people suffered immensely, paying heavy tax to fund the lavish lives of greedy lords. Peasant rebellions were brutally crushed by the princes, revealing the tyrannical heart of the realm. Respect for the emperor vanished as he signed vile treaties, constantly surrendering foreign land. The French monarchy routinely bullied the German states, manipulating chaotic politics. By the end of the 18th century, the empire was a dusty relic unsuited for the world. The storm clouds of the French Revolution began to gather, unleashing a terrifying new threat. When revolutionary armies poured across the Rhine, the imperial defense forces collapsed. The rigid tactics of German mercenaries were useless against motivated French citizen troops. The incompetent imperial commanders were outmaneuvered and destroyed in humiliating defeats. The fatal blow to this thousand-year illusion arrived in the form of a brilliant artillery mind. Napoleon Bonaparte seized control of France, forging an unstoppable juggernaut to shape the world. He possessed a genius for modern, lightning-fast warfare, disregarding old aristocratic rules. As his massive army marched aggressively east, terrified German princes abandoned the weak throne. Many selfish electors eagerly allied with the French invader, betraying ancient sacred oaths. The ultimate reckoning occurred on the freezing, fog-covered battlefield of Austerlitz in that year. Emperor Francis desperately assembled his clumsy forces, hoping to stop the French mighty storm. But the legendary iron strength of the Holy Roman Empire was a glass shield waiting to break. Napoleon executed a flawless tactical masterpiece, crushing the Allied armies in blood. The tragic ruin on the snowy hills definitively proved that the ancient medieval era died. The magnificent imperial eagle was violently shot down, its broken wings scattered in the cold. Following this absolute catastrophe, the French emperor reorganized Germany under his will. He created the Confederation of the Rhine, stealing Western loyalty from the helpless, weak throne. Faced with this undeniable political reality, Francis realized the charade was done. The spectacular illusion was gone, leaving only a defeated monarch alone in his dark hall. In August 1806, Francis officially surrendered the mighty ancient throne for good. He formally dissolved the Holy Roman Empire, ending 1,000 years of epic, grand fiction. The heavy crown of Charlemagne was quietly packed away, stripped of its legendary domain. There was no glorious final stand, no heroic defense by loyal German knights of the old realm. The once mighty giant simply collapsed into dusty ash, exhausted by its own internal rot. According to scholars, the common people hardly noticed the quiet death of this medieval ghost. German princes simply swapped their old allegiances for shiny new French military titles now. Napoleon paraded triumphantly through German capitals as absolute master of all. The legendary iron strength was exposed as nothing more than rotting wooden scaffolding and lies. The tragic irony was that this mighty holy empire was destroyed by its terrible greed. Princes cared only for their private wealth, sacrificing the greater good of their shattered nation. Emperors desperately clung to a useless crown, ignoring the starving, humble peasants below them. It is a dark reminder that majestic traditions cannot hide a brutally corrupted core. The devastating fall of this massive medieval structure transformed the political map of all. Without the heavy imperial chains, a fiery new German nationalism began to waken. However, this newfound freedom came at a high, devastating price, paid in rivers of bitter grief. Napoleon demanded obedience, taxing German states to feed his unstoppable war machine. Young German men were brutally conscripted, forced to perish in freezing Russian snowstorms alone. The bitter reality of ongoing French occupation erased the fleeting joy of present hopes. It seems the German people traded one master for another ruthless, tyrannical dictator. Yet, the complete destruction of the old order was necessary for unstoppable future growth. Only by clearing the ancient shattered ruins could a unified modern Germany be built. The defeated Habsburgs retreated to Vienna, focusing on Austrian and Hungarian lands. They forged the brand new Austrian Empire, desperately trying to maintain their fading royal pride. But the grand prestige of leading Christendom was ripped from their shaking hands for all eternity now. Looking back at this tumultuous thousand-year history, we find a profound and terrible truth. Absolute power is never guaranteed by golden crowns, ancient scrolls, or even sacred titles. True enduring strength requires genuine unity, strong leadership, and the will to defend the realm. The Holy Roman Empire possessed none of these grand virtues, relying on a carefully crafted myth. When that mighty grand myth was challenged by a modern genius, the whole frail structure quickly vanished. We often romanticize the past, imagining noble kings and utopian perfect societies. Yet history is brutally honest, revealing the ugly truth hidden behind the bright facade. The grand imperial eagle was a fragile paper bird, desperately flying in a violent storm. It serves as a grim warning to any massive nation suffering from deep inner division and strife. A mighty house fiercely divided against itself cannot stand, no matter how glorious its name. As the bitter dust of Austerlitz finally settled, a completely new European order woke. The ancient age of slow medieval empires was over, replaced by ruthless national aggression. Napoleon marched fiercely onward, deeply convinced of his unstoppable, majestic destiny. But even his vast, terrifying war machine would ultimately face a brutally cold downfall. History constantly proves that every great empire crumbles under its massive, unbearable weight. The lingering ghosts of the Holy Roman Emperor serve as silent witnesses to this endless loop. Their beautiful empty palaces now stand as lavish museums of a long-dead and forgotten age. We must always remember to look past the shining gold, questioning the official fabricated tales. Only by shattering ancient myths can we understand the complex nature of absolute raw power. The Grand Empire fell before the crushing boots of a magnificent and unstoppable French conqueror. But across the violent ocean, a strange new world was also bathing in blood and bright shining golden light. They were preparing to face their darkest, brutal doom against relentless and unforgiving invaders. Its tragic demise proves that grand titles cannot save a crumbling nation rotting from the inside out. Was Napoleon a brutal destroyer or a force of progress? Tell us in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this journey, please like this video, share it with friends, and subscribe to our growing channel.